Margaret had almost canceled 3 times that morning. She stood in front of her closet holding the gray blazer and burgundy dress, wondering why she had agreed to this at all. Blind dates were for young people with their whole lives ahead of them, not for women who had already lived a full chapter and closed a book. But her sister Claire had been so insistent. She smoothed down her dress one last time, grabbed her purse, and headed to the cafe. The place was cozy with warm lights and the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. Margaret spotted him, immediately sitting by the window. David looked nervous, too, which somehow made her feel a little better. He stood when he saw her. His smile was kind, but his eyes held something else. Maybe sadness. Maybe just the weight of life. They shook hands and sat down. The first few minutes were awkward, as these things always are. Small talk about the weather, about the cafe, about anything, except what really mattered. Margaret found herself looking at the door, thinking about excuses to leave early. David seemed nice enough, but she could feel the wall between them. 2 strangers trying to pretend this was natural. Then he said something that caught her attention. "I should probably be honest with you, Margaret. I have not done this in a very long time. My wife passed away 2 years ago, and I have a daughter. Her name is Emma, and she is 6 years old." Margaret felt her chest tighten, not from fear, but from recognition. She knew that kind of loss. Her own marriage had ended differently, but loss was loss. "I am sorry," she said quietly. "That must be incredibly hard." David nodded. "It has been, but Emma keeps me going. She is the reason I am here, actually. She told me I needed to stop being sad all the time. She said I should find someone who makes me smile like Mommy used to." Margaret felt tears prick her eyes. Children had a way of seeing straight through to the truth. Before she could respond, the door opened. A small girl with curly blonde hair came rushing in, followed by an older woman who looked flustered. "Daddy." The little girl ran straight to their table. David looked surprised. "Emma, sweetie, what are you doing here? Grandma was supposed to take you to the park." The grandmother caught up, looking apologetic. "I am so sorry, David," she insisted. She said she needed to see someone. Emma ignored them both. Her eyes were locked on Margaret, wide and wondering. "You are her," she whispered. Margaret blinked, confused. "I am sorry, honey, I do not understand." Emma climbed up onto the bench next to Margaret without hesitation. "You are the lady from Daddy's story, the one with the kind eyes and the pretty hair." David looked mortified. "Emma, sweetheart, this is not." But Emma cut him off. "Daddy tells me a story every night about a princess who lost her way. She was very sad because she had been hurt before, but then she met a king who had also been sad, and they helped each other remember how to be happy again." Margaret felt something crack open inside her chest. David covered his face with his hands. "I am so sorry," she said. "You were like the character I..." He trailed off, clearly embarrassed. But Margaret was not listening to him anymore. She was looking at Emma, at this small, perfect child who somehow saw past all the armor. "Tell me more about this story," Margaret said softly. Emma's face lit up. Well, the princess was very brave. She had traveled through a dark forest all alone, and she was tired, but she did not give up. And when she met the king, he was also tired from his own journey. But together they found a light. Emma reached out and took Margaret's hand. "Daddy said the princess would come when we needed her most. And here you are." Margaret looked at David. He had tears in his eyes now. "I started telling her that story about 6 months ago," he said quietly. "I did not know how to explain to a 6-year-old why I was so sad all the time. So I turned it into a fairy tale, one where the ending was still being written." Margaret squeezed Emma's small hand. She thought about all the reasons she had almost canceled, all the fears and doubts that had filled her morning, and she realized something. Sometimes a story finds you. You do not find it. She looked at David, really looked at him this time, past the nervousness and the awkwardness. She saw a man who had been brave enough to keep going, to raise his daughter alone, to tell her stories about hope, even when he was not sure he believed in it himself. And he saw her too, a woman who had survived her own dark forest, who had learned to stand on her own, who was more than the sum of her past hurts. "Can I tell you something?" Margaret said. Emma nodded eagerly. "I think your daddy is very wise. And I think you might be even wiser." Emma giggled. "Will you stay?" she asked. "Will you have hot chocolate with us?" Margaret looked at David. He was watching her with hope in his eyes. The kind of careful hope that comes from being hurt before. "Yes," she said. "I would like that very much." They spent the next 2 hours at that table, talking and laughing while Emma colored pictures on napkins. The grandmother had slipped away with a knowing smile, and the cafe staff seemed happy to let them stay. By the time they left, the snow had started falling outside, soft and gentle like the beginning of something new. David walked Margaret to her car. Emma held both their hands, swinging between them. "Thank you," he said, "for giving us a chance. For not running away when Emma showed up." Margaret smiled. "I almost did run away this morning. 3 times, actually. I am glad you did not." "Me too." Emma tugged on Margaret's sleeve. "Will you come to our house for dinner? Daddy makes really good spaghetti." Margaret looked at David. He shrugged, looking both embarrassed and hopeful. "I do make pretty good spaghetti." She laughed. "Then I would love to come." As Margaret drove home, that evening she thought about fairy tales, about how they never quite prepare you for real life. In fairy tales, the prince and princess are young and perfect. But in real life, sometimes they are in their 50s, with gray hair and laugh lines and hearts that have been broken and mended. Sometimes the princess does not need rescuing. And sometimes the prince needs rescuing too. And sometimes a little girl with curly hair and endless wisdom is the one who brings them together. Margaret had gone to that cafe expecting nothing, hoping for nothing, but she left with something she had not felt in years. Possibility. The next morning her sister called. Well, she demanded, "How did it go?" Margaret smiled, thinking of Emma's drawing now stuck to her refrigerator. A picture of 3 people holding hands under a smiling sun. "It was different than I expected." "Good different?" "Yes," Margaret said. "Very good different. Because sometimes the best stories are not the ones we plan. They are the ones that find us when we are brave enough to show up, even when we are scared, even when we have been hurt before, even when we almost cancel 3 times. Margaret had learned something important that snowy afternoon. Love does not always look like we expect it to. Sometimes it comes with a 6-year-old girl attached, with bedtime stories and spaghetti dinners, and healing that happens slowly, one kind moment at a time, and that she thought was the most beautiful kind of fairy tale there was. In the comments below, tell me from which country you are watching my video. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Leave a comment below telling us about a time when something unexpected turned into something beautiful. Your story might inspire someone else to take a chance on hope.